Hello, I am Stephanie Joy, the attorney at All Things Social Security and Joy Disability Law. Your video is about to start. I just wanted to remind you that if you click the join button below, you can learn more about the memberships offered at a very affordable price that can give you a little more direct attorney answers to your questions. Have a great day and enjoy the video. Hey, Friday Fraud Law Review. This one's a bit of a doozy. This person it was a gentleman, late 50s from Connecticut. He's been indicted, so we don't have a conviction, so I'm not going to mention his name. But it's interesting, over 20 years of this fraud of numerous agencies, including Social Security, while working. It's pretty, listen, I'm not saying this as a compliment. He's very clever. Doesn't mean he's not despicable, but he's very clever. I know sometimes we get in trouble for saying something seemingly positive about somebody who may be a horrible person. But it's a spade is spade. The man's clever, okay? So here's what he did, according to the indictment, anyway. He apparently, this is the indictment now, he's not been convicted, 2002 and 2024, he held numerous jobs with numerous employers and earned income totaling more than $500,000. He concealed his income from the governments, both federal and state, by providing to the employers false identification, including Social Security number and card belonging to another individual, and in at least one instance, a false Social Security card. Okay, so he's working under fake names. Sometimes people do that if they're illegal immigrants, right? Very bad thing to do. So I don't know if that was his case or if he wanted to work under these other Social Security numbers as other people so that he could then claim to be disabled. Let's see where that goes. This is what it seems like it's saying, amongst other things, but I'm sorry, it's very clever. It's devious, it's horrible, it's deceitful, I don't know if you say evil or not, but apparently back in 2002, so that's when he's still working for other people under other names. So working for employers with fake ID, he applied for disability, SSD. Mind you, they refer to it here as RSDI. That is the general overall term for Social Security, Retirement Survivors Disability Insurance. Okay, but when we're talking only about Social Security, we talk about SSD or SSDI. Because that RSDI could be any of the three. It could be retirement, it could be survivors, or it could be disability. So just a little aside. Anyway, he filed asserting that he was unable to work due to disability, and he indeed prevailed in his case in 2002. That's before my time. I wasn't practicing, people, so it wasn't me. In 2017, okay, so we're fast forwarding 15 years, he completed paperwork to maintain his benefits, I guess maybe a CDR, in which he asserted that he remained disabled and had not worked for the past 2 years. Now, I guess, did they only ask him about 2 years? Because he's been collecting since 2002. Anyway, that's a weird question right there. He ultimately collected more than $300,000 of SSD payments, to which he was not entitled, they are telling us, according to the indictment. Also in 2017, this is where he starts going after other agencies. Check this out. He's a little greedy, this one. Little greedy. He submitted to the Connecticut Department of Social Services an application for SNAP. That's the food stamps, people. So this should really tick off anyone collecting food stamps. It should tick off anybody anyway. But for those of you who, understandably think food stamps are not enough for you to get by a week, much less a month, take a look-see about who's dipping their fingers in there. Some people that are not eligible. Okay, so he represented to them that he had earned no income from employment. He began receiving the food stamps in March of 17, and then he also completed renewal forms for those benefits, those food stamps, indicating that he had no change in his income, that he earned no money from employment. Now, as you know, during these years, he was working and earning money using a fraudulent Social Security number and name, ID from other people. Okay, the indictment further alleges that now we're about up to 2020. Again, in Connecticut, of course, because that's where he was from. He applied for unemployment. On the application, he used a Social Security number belonging to another individual, probably because maybe his own social was being used for the disability. So he had to use someone else's to claim he's a worker who's been displaced or whatever and should get unemployment insurance benefits. He represented to the Department of Labor that he was unemployed but available for work and physically able to work. As you know, when you file for unemployment, you are saying you're willing and able to work. This is a slight aside, guys. This comes up a lot in cases. I have clients who say, can I file for unemployment even though I'm filing for SSD? The answer is yes. You just have to make sure you're clear on what you're saying to each agency. There is a difference. So it is not inconsistent necessarily to do both, but it might not be consistent. It depends on the case. So talk to your lawyer about it. Many lawyers might just have a blanket rule like, no, I don't want you to. I realize that that's not reality. And oftentimes you are eligible for UI while you're also eligible for and claiming SSD. So it gets a little complicated. I usually tell my clients who already have collected unemployment and then they finally filed or not that, I'll educate them if we come to hearing, because that's really the only time it's going to be implicated, not at the earlier levels. They don't care. It would generally be at an ALJ hearing. Because sometimes the judge will say, hey, I see you collected unemployment. You told them you were able to work. Yet a month later, you filed for Social Security saying you're unable to work. Well, that's not actually what you're saying when you file for disability, Social Security disability. So I educate my clients so they understand the difference and how what they did was not necessarily a bad thing at all. It was what both agencies urge you to do. Okay, separate. Now let's go back to it. So, he did his weekly certifications. This fellow, this 58-year-old out of Connecticut, did his weekly certifications to unemployment to continue collecting those unemployment checks that he had applied for. And he did, in fact, receive, wow, $35,000 in payments to which he was not entitled. Is that how high unemployment is these days? Okay. If he's convicted, he can get imprisonment of up to 20 years on each count of wire fraud. So I guess all these little things, everything goes to the wires, right? So kind of anytime we do something more than a fart, we're probably committing wire fraud. Just be careful. And as always, the reports from the OIG, and I appreciate this, I always say it, they make clear that an indictment is not evidence of guilt. And we know that's true, guys, because you can indict a ham sandwich. Famous expression, go look it up. They indict anybody, or can, for the most part. And certainly we've seen a lot of that lately, haven't we? You can indict a ham sandwich. They reiterate that charges are only allegations and the defendant is presumed innocent unless and until proven beyond a reasonable doubt. Super, super important. That's why I'm not mentioning his name. Should he get convicted, I will be happy to put it out there full blown. Okay. District of Columbia. And I'm curious, the matter is being investigated by the SSA, Office of the Inspector General, the U.S. Department of Agriculture, Office of Inspector General. I don't know where they came into play. Maybe some of his work was in the agricultural arena. And the U.S. Department of Labor of the Inspector General. That would probably be for the unemployment fraud aspect. Crazy stuff, but clever. Isn't he clever? You know, you'd think if you use those smarts for something good, he could have done a lot of good in the world, but no, he was greedy and lazy. Talk to you later, guys. Bye.